Welcome. Merry Christmas. My name is Lorna, and this is Ananda Portland, and this is our fourth Advent class together. Today, we're going to be talking about angels and light. In case you didn't notice, we have a multitude of the heavens here with us. So far in our Advent classes, we've talked about the three kings and the promise, the hope of the coming Messiah. Then we have the aspect of love and Mary and Joseph. And then last week we talked about the shepherds and their role in this whole drama and the aspect of joy, the joy of discovery of God's birth, the awakening that we have to God's presence, and the realization of knowing that He is here, that God is close. Now we have this aspect of light and the angels that play a very, predominant role in this whole nativity story and in the whole drama. You just can't go anywhere on Christmas without seeing angels everywhere. We have, angels on our tree as ornaments. My children and I, we made angels in Sunday school, and we have, little cherub type angels, and we have tall, graceful, stately angels, and we have little teeny tiny angels, and just angels everywhere. Angels on our Christmas cards. There's the carols, of course. Hark the herald angels sing. Angels we have heard on high. And last week, of course, as part of the story of the shepherds, is the story of the shepherds seeing the angels and the angels coming to them. Not just one, but many of them, a multitude, it says, of the heavenly hosts, which is thrilling, the idea of the sky being full of angels singing and declaring God's presence. Now, there are a lot of people who believe in angels, who have seen angels, who talk about angels and see them as true, phenomenon, true beings. Yogananda also added his testimony to that. He spoke of angels and referred to angels. And I want to read you one passage from Paramahansa Yogananda saying, "So his dream thoughts took on luminous form. Soon all things manifested light and energy. Stars, angels, and lower astral beings, herbs, flowers, and bees all shone as living lights in the limitless firmament of his dream. Endowed with motion, all things danced in his shimmering light. Behold, the Supreme Spirit had become God, the Father protector of creation." So here he talks about how creation happened and that light created all of these things. The Creator created all of these things as light, and angels were among them. Angels as astral beings, beings of light and energy without a physical, gross material form that we have. And a lot of people, you can look it up and find all kinds of stories about angel visitations, angels in form and that are formless. And it's fascinating because it just speaks to a whole nother level of reality that we usually do not have privy to. We don't see that happening. In fact, in one quote, Yogananda talked about there could be thousands of angels all around you. And if we're not tuned into that, we're not going to notice, we're not going to see them. Now, in the Christmas story, we have a lot of angels that show up. There's an angel who came to Mary and during what we call the Annunciation, and told her that she was the chosen one to be the mother of the Christ, and that this was going to be she was going to give birth to this baby, and that this child was going to grow within her, even though she didn't have a husband. It was going to be a virgin birth, and it was the pure Holy Spirit that was within her. And then, Joseph had to deal with this reality, and an angel came to him and reassured him and told him, yes, this is true. Take Mary as your wife. You're going to play the role of the father to the Messiah, to this baby who you'll call Jesus. Then we have the angels, of course, coming to the shepherds. And first, there's one who announces and declares what is happening. And then you have the heavens open up with all of these angels praising God and singing. And then we also have, after the birth, we have an angel who comes to Joseph and tells him that Jesus is not safe, that Herod is looking for him, and that they need to pack up immediately and go to Egypt to be safe. And an angel then later came and told Joseph when it was okay to go back again. And there is all of these angels. Now, also interesting, in later right before the crucifixion, Jesus speaks and says, even now my Father could send dozens, 12 dozens, not dozens. He said, I think 12 legions of angels to come and save me if he wanted. But that wasn't God's will. The crucifixion was God's will. That was the drama that was going to play out to help teach us and to show us the way. So angels are very prominent in the Bible, not just in the story of the Nativity and in the New Testament. They're all over the place. Now, I don't know if some of those stories may be, metaphorical about how light and clarity and wisdom come to us intuitively, and we have sort of a visitation from our superconscious or from God telling us what to do and helping us. And that's like an angel's job. And also, as we said, there are astral beings who help people, and they come and they do things to reassure us. The main things I see happening when the angels come is that they reassure us. They'll say, "Don't be afraid," and then they also announce something. They tell some direction. This is what's going to happen, or this is what's happening. This is what's true and real. And then they also usually give direction. Do this now. Go. Take Mary as your wife. Do that. That's the right thing to do. And they help us in that way. And so it's a higher consciousness that comes into us and helps clarify and bring light. We'll talk about the light aspect of it also. I want to read also here, number 2. I have so many good things to share with you that it's hard to keep track of it all. This one is also the bringing in the light aspect. This is from Yogananda from December 1936. Kindle the fire of devotion in your heart so that the light of Christ may blaze within you. Purity, peace, and happiness beyond dreams are sparkling and dancing within you. Let the peace without join the peace within. You are submerged in that eternal light. It permeates every particle of your being. You are living in that light, for the Spirit of Christ has filled you within and without. Christ's peace, which is like an ocean, has filled your body and mind. Rest in the joy of this blessed peace now. So here he's talking about the light of Christ and how that is within us. It's out and it's also within us. And of course, we've talked about before the spiritual eye and how we see the light here in the forehead and that we can merge with that light. The idea of the angels coming and singing and declaring the birth of the Avatar, the birth of the Messiah, it's that the whole story, the picture wouldn't be complete if you took away the angels. It makes it perfect because it sort of brings together heaven and earth. And it's like they're the intermediaries that are helping us to see the light and the love and the presence of God that's beyond creation. And they're helping to bring it into creation, into this plane, into this material world where we are. And when those come together, it's so thrilling because it helps us to see that we can reach that, we can uplift and we can touch that as well. I want to play a song from Swami Kriyananda. It's called That Night When Christ Was Born. It's about the nightingale who sings with the angels. And it has several verses, so it'll take just a few minutes. But it's a wonderful story about this little bird who really doesn't sing very well. And then when the angels come and he sings with the angels, his voice becomes as one with the angels. Let's see if you can hear this here with me. Oops, I think I lost the link for it. So let's see. Shoot. Okay. Here it is. See if we can get it up. The story of, I don't think that's going to work. Oh well, we won't do that. The story of the angels coming to the shepherds, again, is that meeting of heaven. Here they are, the heavenly hosts, and they're bringing this down to the shepherds, and the shepherds are reaching up to that light and into that joy. Let me read you something else. The song, too many things here. This is again from Yogananda. The story of creation from the beginning on through resurrection is the story of each individual as well as of the universe. Life and truth are ever existent, but become self-conscious in each individual through the light of self-realization. It is through this constant expansion of the light in all matter that each manifestation is uplifted to a higher vibratory expression of the infinite. Now that's a lot of words, but let me repeat this one part. It is through this constant expansion of the light in all matter that we're uplifted. The constant expansion of the light. So focusing on this light of Christmas is a wonderful way to go deeper into this nativity story and into what's actually happening here, this birth of the Avatar. And what is it we're celebrating? What is it we're trying to remember? Why is it that every year, in the darkest part of the year, do we come back to this story again and again? The reality of God coming to earth, coming into a human body, into human form, to be with us, to walk with us, to teach us, to show us the way, and to keep guiding us back to that light. It's not, it's obviously a very human thing to think about light and to try to affirm the light in the darkest, coldest time of the year. That's ancient. It's very it's very universal and is part of every culture, every part of the world, that we affirm that light because the light brings us life. Without light, we would die. Without light, we wouldn't be here. That light of the sun is life giving. And Yogananda said that everything in this material plane is a symbol for a higher reality, a higher truth. And what's interesting is he said the sun, the physical sun that we see in the sky that gives us life on this planet, is the symbolic material representation of the spiritual eye here that gives us life, that permeates our being and has the incredible infinite power of God that's right here inside of us. It's part of who we are. And we can draw from that, we can merge with that, we can become one with that. And it's a wonderful thing to think about, the power of the sun in our physical world and the power of the spiritual eye here in our astral body. That's part of our astral reality. So that light is there. Now, the light, of course, is something that we celebrate and we do so many, there's so many expressions and manifestations of light at Christmas time. On the Christmas tree here, we put up lights. We put up lights outside all around our house with candles and all of these ways that we affirm the light, that we see the light, we remember the light, we celebrate it, we share it, we become more in tune with it, and we try to find more and more ways to express it. Even, sequins and glitter and the shiny things that we hang on the tree, the ornaments and everything is all about light, reflection of light and the light in our consciousness. The Christmas tree image, Yogananda said, think of the Christmas tree as the spine, as the astral spine, and the lights on the tree as spiritual qualities all up and down in the chakras and all up and down the astral spine, that those wonderful spiritual qualities that we want to shine brightly, that we want to cultivate, are there like the lights on a Christmas tree. I love that image. And I use it a lot, to remind myself of that during Christmas time, especially. So here's another quote from Yogananda that sort of refers to the lights on the tree. Divine Father, twinkle thy light through my thoughts and my whole being. Strengthen me, make me realize that I am immortal, and teach me to follow the one highway that leads to thee. Awaken my soul. I like that. Twinkle thy light through my thoughts and my whole being. That's what I think of when I look at Christmas trees, is that light of the divine. And we can call on that and ask God to twinkle in our thoughts and in our whole being. Now, what does that mean more on just a practical level, a daily level of, how do we celebrate outside of Christmas and hanging lights on our Christmas tree? How do we use that idea of light and the angels that is part of the story? How do we use that on a daily basis to bring ourselves closer to Christ consciousness and to understand more deeply the reality of that light and what Christ was trying to tell us and to show us? So here's another some advice from Swami Kriyananda in his book Living Wisely, Living Well. Sound and light affect our consciousness, for we, like them, are composed of vibrations. Music, therefore, is more than entertainment, and lighting more than something to see by. Sound and light actually affect our consciousness and help direct it towards spirituality, worldliness, or depravity. Be sensitive to the subtle effect of vibrations. Protect yourself from disruptive ones by listening to inspiring music or by singing, even mentally, songs that are uplifting, and by surrounding yourself with calm, soothing, or brightly cheerful lights and colors. So we really can bring this down to a very practical, very simple level because sometimes visualizing light or feeling God's light is too subtle. It's a little bit hard to get a hold of and to know what to do with that. If you're good at visualizing and imagining, you can try to imagine bright light around you or your aura or around other people or seeing light. Some people can't do that very well, and there are just times when it's hard to tune into that. So, how do we do that, especially when we're not feeling very light in our heart or in our consciousness? So, he said, surround yourself with that. Turn on lights in your home, open the windows and the curtains, let the light in, even if it's gray light here in Oregon. Bring in the light. You may also try dressing in lighter colors. I had an astrologer who told me one time during a period that I was having some confusion and some difficulty to wear white. He said, just wear white more often. And I thought it was kind of odd. What difference is that going to make? But I tried it, and it's true. By putting on light clothes and wearing a lot more white, I just felt more filled with light. And it felt like I had more of a stronger aura around me. And I could tune into that light much more easily. So you might think about that in your wardrobe and in the colors in your home, in the surroundings that you have. Think of light and bring in more light. Either, as Swami said, brightly colored, cheerful, or soft, soothing light. Now, um, the um, the other thing that I have done at times is I've gone through Yogananda's writings and looked at when he described light and what he said about light and all of the words, the descriptive words, the adjectives that he used to describe light in various situations and various prayers and affirmations that he had. And it's quite an amazing list. I'm going to share that with you because it really helped me to really tune into more deeply that the vibration of divine light that we're talking about and how that we can maybe access that more strongly, more clearly. So these are different words, like I said, that I just pulled from a lot of his writings. He described light as channeling, receiving, sharing, expanding, bathing, immersing, surrounding, blessing, igniting, filling, awakening, purifying, permeating, living, protecting, clarifying, revealing, healing, transforming, flowing, embracing, enfolding, and mirroring. Feels wonderful. It's an amazing just spectrum of qualities and ways of seeing light and tuning into light and feeling, letting it be more of a feeling and of an action. That light has dynamic consciousness and reality for us. And it's not just, as Swami said, not just something to see by. So I love this particular little nativity here. There's Mary and Joseph and the baby, and the angel light actually completely enfolds them and surrounds them. I love looking at that one. And that's an image that we can use about the light with us, is this enfolding us, surrounding us, protecting us, clarifying, all these words that Yogananda has used to describe and tell us what that light does for us and what it does within us, and that we are made of that light, which I think is a huge part of why the angels are so prominent in the Bible and in other scripture, and particularly part of the story of the birth of this avatar of Jesus. Is that they're there to remind us that we are beings of light. And the more we are part of that light and try to tune our consciousness to be a being of light, the closer we are to God, the closer we are to our own divine reality, and the more we understand that. So I want to share another reading. This is from Swami Kriyananda, from his book, The Cities of Light, about channeling the light. He says, to draw God's light down to earth, pure hearts are needed. Devotees whose will is to live in light. Even as squalor attracts negative energies, however, so outward harmony and beauty attract godly energies. Man cannot create heaven on this earth, for heaven is in God. But his duty is to reflect heaven in all he does and in all he creates. One of the words that Yogananda used was mirroring. That light helps to reflect heaven and God's presence. I think that's a wonderful way of thinking about it. Now, pure souls, pure hearts, to draw light down to earth, pure hearts are needed. So in this nativity story, we have these wonderful, pure hearts that have drawn God's love. We have the yearning, the pure hearts of the Jewish people that are longing for the Messiah, that want God in their lives more perfectly and more tangibly. And that's what drew God's response. We have Mary and Joseph as these pure-hearted souls who are absolutely willing to say, yes, I'll do this. I will be a channel. I'll help to bring this avatar to the people and play this role of mother and father and, be in the earthly drama of this divine reality. And their pure hearts drew that to them. It was not just a random choice by God, and it wasn't because they are loved more by God. We are all loved equally. But there's more when there's more heart opening and willingness and that light inviting, it draws that response from God. And then also in the story of Zacharias and Elizabeth and the birth of John, who Yogananda said was actually the guru of Jesus in a previous life, That story also involves an angel who came to Zacharias and told him that he would be the father, that Elizabeth would give birth to this son. And they also had to be bright souls filled with light to draw that from God and to play that role. He goes on to say, it isn't that God comes only where beauty is manifested outwardly. Those, however, who serve as channels of his light feel naturally inspired to channel that light into all aspects of their lives, as well as outwardly to their environments. Who serve as channels of his light feel naturally inspired to channel it into all aspects of life. That's us. That's the devotee. Anybody of any path that wants that light more fully and is calling to that light and living in that light, we automatically, because of magnetism, because the way the universal law works, the more we open ourselves up and try to manifest that light, the more light will come to us. And our lives will be full of that. And what does light do? All of those things that Yogananda, all of those qualities that Yogananda talked about, it fills our life with healing, with comfort, with all of those things, but also with clarity. And it helps to transform us from shadow and helps take away those things that are blocking the light. And it also clarifies and helps us to see more clearly what we're supposed to do. How are we supposed to behave? What is it that God's asking of us? If an angel were to appear in front of you right this moment, what would this angel say? What would the angel be telling you to do? First, the angel would say probably, fear not. And then maybe help show you direction. This is what God wants of you. Well, if we don't have enough light, if we aren't able to draw that, then it's going to be real hard, even though that light is there all the time. It doesn't increase. It's just that we remove things that are blocking that light. So the more that we can do that, the more we can remove those obstacles and help that light to shine more brightly, the more we'll hear and see and experience God as real, like the shepherds did, like Mary and Joseph, like the three kings, like all of those who saw Jesus walking on this earth and were touched by him and healed by him and felt his presence and his divinity and the reality of his love. All of those people who had the karma to be there with him at that time. Well, he's not walking around in a physical body right now, but he's omnipresent. We can tune into Christ and all of the avatars any moment, any time. But it helps to have that light in our lives and in our hearts and in our minds that will draw even more light to us. Focus on the light. Focus on your inner Christmas tree and the twinkling light of God that will help uplift you, and be like the angels, just praising God, singing God's name, glorifying in that presence all the time, and sharing it in whatever way you can. So the angels don't hesitate. They just are absolutely fearless about sharing that light, sharing the love of God, sharing that clarity and that wisdom and that joy of God's presence. Let's try to be more like the angels and have more light in our hearts and in our minds this Christmas. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been fun. I hope to do this again next year, regardless of what's going on in the world, because we need to tune in to Christmas and take advantage of this time of joy and love and inner peace. And you can be a channel for that into this world. Thank you. Many blessings. Have a merry, blessed Christmas.